Okay, so this is a video solution for the chapter 6.5, and so let's take a look at how it went, or how it goes. So you have problem number 1. M is one variable and P is the other variable, and so M is 10 initialized and P is initialized to be 7. The very first problem says M++. Now, since there is no calculation or assignment or a print statement here, this is the same as if we did plus m. It would not make any difference. It would do the exact same thing. And so all we're going to do is increment m, and it becomes 11. Then we move on to the next line. In this one, we have two operators. We have the addition and the assignment. Do the addition first because it shows up first. And so we're going to take P and we're going to add it to M, and then we're going to assign it. So P is 7, M is 11. So we add that together and we get 18. And then the second thing that happens is that result gets assigned to P. Always gets assigned to the variable on the left side of the assignment operator. So P is assigned 18. The next one, M now is assigned the difference of P and M. And so P is 18, M is 11, so M is assigned 7. The next line down is P modulus equals M. We're going to do the modulus first because it shows up first, and then it will do the assignment after that. And so P modulus M would be 18 modulus 7. So that means we take 18 divided by 7, and it goes in twice, which is 14, and there's still a remainder of 4, still 4 left. So this is asking for the remainder, so it's 4. So P is now assigned 4. The next line down is to take M and divide it by P, and then we'll assign it to M because that's the second operator. So M is 7 and P is 4, and so 4 goes into 7 one time. And if you did it in your calculator, just make sure you truncate that old decimal and get rid of it. So it's an int divided by an int is an int. 7 divided by 4 in Java is 1. Plus m, like I said up here, it's the same thing. We're just incrementing m. No big deal. It's 2. And then we go to our last one. The key thing to remember here is when you have a calculation or something on the other side, we want to do that first. That is going to happen before you do any of this other stuff. And so P times 3 is 12. Because the current value of P is 4. So now the problem is going to read M plus 12, and that's then going to be assigned, that sum is going to be assigned to M. So M is 2, 2 plus 12 is 14, and the 14 gets assigned to M. Alright, so that should be your final result. M is 14 and P is 4. Alright, let's go up to number 2. Number 2 is we have we have D is 12 and Y is 5 as the assignment or initialization, and so we take our first line of code. Now we have the increment operator. And I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, I added a couple of things here, and so I added these helps up here, and so we will look at that here as we go. So we got d is 12, y is 5. First line of code says d equals plus plus y. Now, remember we said before plus plus y and y plus plus means the same thing, except when these are involved in a calculation or an assignment or in a print statement. Now this is being used in an assignment, and so therefore a plus plus y and a y plus plus are going to have two different results. And so when you have that, then you've got to make a decision between two things. Every time you've got to make a decision. It's just two things. You go, do I use the variable first and then increment it, or do I increment the variable first and then use it? So you have one of those two situations. It's easy because the increment is based on what comes first as you read it from left to right. In this line of code, the plus plus, the incrementing, comes before the variable. So you do this one. You increment first because increment is shown before the variable. It's first. So increment y first. So y becomes 6. Now we use it. Y is no longer 5, it's 6. So now we use the variable in the assignment. And so d is assigned 6. All right, next one. Remember, this is what you got to determine first. Do I use the variable first or increment the variable first? Well, increment is coming after the variable, so therefore we're going to increment after we use it. So here we are. We're going to use the d in an assignment first. Y is assigned d. Well, what d is 6. So y is assigned 6, which it already is, so we'll just leave it the way it is. But then we got to not forget that we have to increment. We still have to increment. So because we just used the variable just now, now we're going to increment it before we leave this line. So the d then gets assigned. You know what? I did this wrong before. The y is assigned 6, and it already is 6, so we just leave it. Now we're going to increment the d, and it's going to become 7. Okay, because you have to make sure you increment before you leave that line. All right, so we go to the next line. So we have the increment operator acting, but we also have a sum or a calculation, and we have an assignment happening. So therefore, we have to ask ourselves one of these two. We have to decide between these two options up here. Do we use the variable first or increment? So we do. Then really the way to look at it is, do we increment first or last? Okay, so since the increment operator is happening first before the variable, that means increment first. So we pick this guy. And so we increment d, and it becomes 8. And so now, instead of using 7, we're going to use 8 as the variable. And now we go back to what we just learned, or we just did. We're going to take y and add it to 8. So y plus 8 is, since y is 6, y plus 8 is 14, and 14 now is assigned to y because it's on the left side of the assignment operator. So y becomes 14. And we already incremented, so we did everything. Let's take the next line. Okay? The incrementing operating sign is after the variable. So therefore, we use the variable, then increment. We increment after we use the variable because it comes after the variable. in the line of code. And so we are going to cover it up for now so we don't get distracted, and take d times, we're going to actually, and then also we're going to do this side first, and y is 14. That's the current value. And so we're going to do the right side of the operator, assignment operator first. 14 minus 10 is 4. So we're going to go d times 4. And since d is 8, that's 32. And then we're going to now assign it to d. And so 32 gets assigned to d. Now, remember, up here, since the assignment operator was last, we use the variable first. But we got to remember, we use the variable, then we increment it. So we just finished using it. So now we have to increment. So we increment y, and it becomes 15. All right, next line down. The increment operator is before the variable. So we're going to increment first and then use the variable. So d gets incremented first. It becomes 33. And now we're going to take the value, the current value of d is now 33. So 33 divided by 15 is 2 in Java, so 2 gets assigned to y. And I think that's it. Yeah, so 33 and 2 is what we finish up with. Alright, next page. This is a little bit different. Num is 5 right now. Now remember, we said that we use variables in calculations, assignments, and print statements. So we still are doing this. We're using the variable first, or we're incrementing first. So this is being used in a print statement. The incrementing comes after the variable. Therefore, we need to use the variable first. Alright, so we now use the variable first. The current value of num is 5. So we are going to print, I hope to buy 5 more cats. Now the weird thing here is that this variable, we said we use the variable and then increment it, even in print statements. So the strange thing is now the print statement actually tells us to increment the variable after we've used it. So because the increment operator comes after the variable. So now we have to increment this, and so num is now 6. Alright, and then we go to the next line of code. Next line of code says I wouldn't mind buying num. Now num is now been changed to 6 because of the incrementation from the previous print statement. And so we would, our last line would be say I wouldn't mind buying 6. Alright, so that's it.